Yo, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of the Swiss. Continuing on with the division round, doing Packers 49ers in this one. I already uploaded the Texans Ravens video, so if you haven't checked that one out, go check it out. This one's Green Bay San Francisco. As I previously mentioned, got off to a great start to the playoffs, man. I keep forgetting. I went 11-2. 11-2 in my bets in the wild card round. Hopefully that success continues this weekend. Let's get it started.
Welcome to the Swiss. The Swiss. Hey, get the Swiss.
All right, as I said, we got Green Bay on the road at San Francisco here. 49ers laying 9.5 points at home, and the total sitting at 50.5. According to the data, the action's coming in pretty split on this one. Looks like a bunch of money came in on the Packers at 10, bought it down to 9.5. Since then, though, it seems pretty split. Maybe slightly leaning towards San Francisco since it dropped down to 9.5. We'll see if it stays or bumps back up to 10 before kickoff, but seems pretty split here. Total's pretty much been sitting at 50 or 50.5 all week. The consensus total was 50 on Tuesday morning. Action seems to be coming in on the over pretty heavy. Move up to 50.5 earlier in the week, and that's where it's still at. In fact, actually, I think there's still 50s out there, so the total really hasn't moved at all. Let's talk injuries. Green Bay in pretty good shape offensively. I don't know why I haven't taken Bakhtiari off this graphic. He's barely played this year, so he's been out for the season for a while. A.J. Dillon might be back for the Pack this week. Now, Aaron Jones is playing arguably the best football of his career right now. I mean, that's probably an exaggeration, but Aaron Jones is playing really well right now. But still, having A.J. Dillon back at RB2 might come in handy for the Pack. On the defensive side, I mean, same old story for Green Bay. No Rudy Ford, no Eric Stokes, both still on the IR. This is not new. I mean, Eric Stokes, I think he's only played in one game all year. Jair Alexander listed as questionable. That's also not new. He was listed as questionable last week as well. He ended up playing and actually had a huge interception off Dak Prescott early in the game. On the San Francisco side, 49ers offensively completely good to go. Nobody even listed as questionable here for the 49ers. Offense coming into this game at full strength. 49ers defense in solid shape also. Obviously, that safety, Hufanga, he's out for the year, so I took him off this graphic. Other than that, though, we've got Dre Greenlaw listed as questionable at linebacker. He did practice on Wednesday and Thursday, though, so I think there's a good chance he plays. So let's match these two teams up on the field, and we'll start with the Packers offense. And Jordan Love, man, after getting off to not the greatest start this season, he's been absolutely nuts down the stretch. Amongst 30 qualified quarterbacks from weeks 11 to 18, Jordan Love is 9th in yards per pass attempt, 3rd in completion percentage, 2nd in passing touchdowns, tied for 2nd in interceptions, tied for 2nd in big time throw percentage, 2nd in passer rating. Those numbers are such an insane turnaround from what we saw from him in weeks 1 through 10. In weeks 1 through 10, amongst 27 qualified quarterbacks, he was 19th, 27th, 25th, and 24th. During the last 8 weeks of the season, Green Bay's offense is 2nd in EPA per play, 3rd in success rate, 1st in EPA per dropback, and 3rd in success rate per dropback. You can make a solid argument that Green Bay had the best passing attack in the NFL in the second half of this season, and you wouldn't even be that crazy by saying that. So how did Jordan Love do last week? Heading into Dallas to make his first career playoff start, a pretty brutal spot. Cowboys pass defense on the season is 7th in DVOA, 9th in yards per pass attempt allowed, 6th in passer rating, and at home, Dallas pass defense, average opponent pass rating of just 71, 56.8% completions, allowing just 15.9 points per game. The Dallas pass defense at home in Dallas was as tough of an opponent as it gets. So how did Jordan Love do? Well, he ripped Dallas to shreds. 272 yards, 76% completions, 13 yards per attempt, 3 touchdowns, no picks, and a damn near perfect passer rating, 157.2. And it gets even more impressive than that. So Jordan Love wasn't sacked once in the game, which is a huge task. I mean, on the road in Dallas against that pass rush, he wasn't sacked once. He was pressured on 7 dropbacks. Check this out. On the 7 dropbacks where Jordan Love was pressured, he was 5 of 7, 152 yards. That's 21.7 yards per attempt, 2 touchdowns, and a 153 passer rating. The reason I went into such details with his numbers against Dallas is this 49ers defense is actually built somewhat similarly to the Dallas defense. I mean, obviously it's better. It's got more talent, less injuries, but as a whole, 49ers are actually kind of similar. On the season against the pass, they're 4th in DVOA, 4th in opponent passer rating, and 5th in yards per attempt allowed, kind of similar to the Dallas numbers. And just like the Cowboys defense, it's anchored by the pass rush. 49ers are just 17th in adjusted sack rate, but they're 6th in pressure rate, 6th in hurry rate, 9th in hit rate. So it's not quite the 49ers pass rush of last year, but this is still a top 10, probably a top 5 pass rush. So was the Dallas game a fluke, or has Jordan Love been playing well against pressure for a while now? And the answer is the latter. From weeks 11 on, so that's including the wild card game, amongst 25 qualified quarterbacks when pressured, Jordan Love is 2nd in yards per attempt, 6th in completion percentage, 1st in touchdowns, 1st in interceptions, 1st in PFF passer grade, 1st in big time throw percentage, 8th in turnover worthy play rate, and 1st in passer rating. I'll say it again, from week 11 on, you can make a strong argument that Jordan Love has been the best quarterback in the NFL. Now, that's a ridiculous statement. No one would ever say that, but just going by the numbers and the opponents and the situations, you can make that argument. Now, what about the run game, though? Is Green Bay going to be able to give Jordan Love some run support? And honestly, I think the answer might be yes. Now, on the season, Green Bay doesn't have the most impressive rushing numbers. They're just 15th in DVOA, 8th in adjusted line yards, and 8th in yards per carry. So they're just okay, slightly above average. But look at the difference in rushing production when Green Bay finally got a healthy Aaron Jones on the field. In weeks 1 through 11, Green Bay was 19th in EPA per rush, 16th in rushing success rate, 102 rush yards per game, and 4.1 yards per carry. From week 12 on, including last week, the Green Bay Packers are 3rd in EPA per rush, 4th in rushing success rate, averaging 131 rushing yards per game on 4.6 yards per carry. And you want to know who they played down the stretch? Want to know some of the defenses they saw? The Lions, the Bears, the Vikings, the Bucks. I mean, these are all top 5. Those might all be top 5 or 6 run defenses right there. And the Cowboys are a top 10 run defense too. And this 49ers defense, as far as stopping the run goes, it's not the 49ers defense of last year. Last season, the 49ers were 2nd in DVOA, 1st in yards per carry allowed, 2nd in adjusted line yards. Probably the best run defense in the NFL last year, them or the Titans. This season, 15th, 14th, and 10th in DVOA yards per carry adjusted line yards. The 49ers have played 5 games against teams in the top 10 of EPA per rush. So they've played 5 games against top 10 rushing attacks. In those games, the 49ers have allowed 115 rushing yards per game on 4.76 yards per carry. So this 49ers defense has been vulnerable to the run this season. Now, that last stat I just read might be a little bit misleading because the numbers are definitely skewed from the Arizona game. In their second matchup against the Cardinals ran the ball 30 times for 234 yards on 7.8 yards per carry. If you take that one out, actually the other 4 aren't that bad. So I just wanted to clarify that. It looked cool when I made the graphic, but then I actually looked a little deeper and I was like, this probably isn't the greatest point. Situational stats on this side of the ball. Edge definitely goes to Green Bay's offense on 3rd downs. Packers are 4th on 3rd down, 17th in the red zone. Kind of a wash in the red zone though, because the 49ers defense struggles on 3rd down, just 24th, but 15th in the red zone. Overall, on this side of the ball, in my opinion, I think Green Bay scores points in this game. I know everyone's terrified of the 49ers defense, but truly, you could make the argument that the Green Bay Packers in the second half of this season had both a top 3 rushing attack and passing attack. And you wouldn't be crazy by saying it. I mean, they are putting up great numbers, and they played a lot of tough defenses down the stretch. And as far as this 49ers defense goes, like I said, this is not the 49ers defense of last year. Remember, we saw Baltimore come into San Francisco and make this defense look mediocre as hell. I like the Packers offense in this matchup. But now we flip it over to the other side of the ball. And if you're betting the 49ers, here's where you get all of your positive talking points because it's a mismatch. So the Packers pass defense actually has decent numbers in the last 3 weeks. Just an 85.8 average opponent passer rating, 6.8 yards per pass attempt allowed, 4.7 sacks per game. So the pass rush has been getting going, 8th in EPA per dropback. So those are actually great numbers from the Packers pass defense in the last 3 weeks. But what can we really take away from those numbers? I mean, if you watch that Green Bay Dallas game, the first half especially, Dak Prescott just wasn't good. Him and his receivers were not on the same page, missing throws, missing reads, CeeDee Lamb dropping passes. I mean, it was just a mess. Dak Prescott, through the first 4 drives of that game, was 7 of 13, 61 yards, 4.69 yards per attempt, and 2 picks. And Jair Alexander making that one was an amazing play. But a lot of that was really the Cowboys offense choking more so than the Packers defense stepping up, in my opinion. And the week before that, they played Justin Fields, who we know Chicago's offensive line in pass protection is about as bad as it gets. Not to mention Fields is a bottom 10 quarterback as far as metrics go. And even in that Packers win, Justin Fields still averaged 9.3 yards per attempt on 69% completion. So it's not like they shut him down. It's really the Bears offensive line that crumbled. And then the week before that, they played Jaron Hall and Nick Mullins, the combination. Jaron Hall was so bad in the first half, and then Nick Mullins came into the second half. I don't need to go into more detail than that. So the reason I just read all those off is, yes, the Packers have very good numbers against the pass in the last 3 weeks, but if you actually take a look at the 3 games, I don't know how much we can take away from it, considering their 3 games before that were against Bryce Young, Baker Mayfield, and Tommy DeVito. And in those games, they had an average pass rating of 128.4, 7 touchdowns and 1 pick, 10 yards per pass attempt, 73% completions. I mean, 30th in EPA per dropback, 32nd in success rate per dropback. So they were looking like one of the worst pass defenses in the NFL before those 3 games. And I don't know if we saw enough in those 3 games to trust this pass defense. Green Bay's pass defense on the season is 26th in DVOA, 25th in passer rating, and 19th in yards per pass attempt allowed. And I think that's probably where they are. I think those numbers are pretty true, maybe a little bit better, but I don't trust them that much. And I got some bad news for Green Bay's defense. San Francisco analytically has the best passing offense in the NFL this year. First in DVOA, first in yards per pass attempt, first in passer rating. Brock Purdy definitely laid a couple eggs this year, specifically against Baltimore and against Cleveland. In those 2 games, you can see the numbers here. Not his best. These are bad games here. 42.6 passer rating and a 55.3 passer rating. But those were against the 2 best pass defenses in the NFL, and I mean literally ranked number 1 and number 2. If you look at Brock Purdy's numbers against bottom 10 pass defenses, which technically on paper Green Bay is, I mean, 74% completions, over 10 yards per attempt, 14 touchdowns, 2 picks, and a 131 passer rating. So he has carved bad defenses up. Now, it's definitely good news for the Packers defense that the pass rush has been waking up. And if you look at their numbers over the course of the year, this has been pretty, well, I don't want to say consistent because it started off good, then it got bad, then it got good again. But overall, it's been a good pass rush. They're 6th in QB hit rate, 13th in pressure rate, 6th in adjusted sack rate. But here's the bad news, Green Bay. Brock Purdy has handled pressure really well this year. Amongst 42 qualified quarterbacks, when pressured, Brock Purdy is 2nd in yards per pass attempt, 2nd in completion percentage, 10th in PFF passer grade, 32nd in turnover-worthy play rate. And I'll talk about that in a second. 7th in pressure to sack rate, 5th in passer rating. So he's handled pressure really well. He's racking up numbers, makes big plays, but 32nd in turnover-worthy play rate. He has shown us the tendency to turn the ball over when you pressure him. I guess the good news for Brock Purdy is the Packers are just 23rd in the NFL in takeaways per game. They haven't been the best at forcing turnovers, but that's how you got to beat this 49ers. Put pressure on Purdy, take advantage of the mistakes. Now, what about the run game, though? Are the Packers going to be able to stop Christian McCaffrey on the ground? Probably not. I mean, Packers run defense on the season, 26th in DVOA, 20th in adjusted line yards, 24th in yards per carry. And it gets even tougher to trust Green Bay's run defense when you look at their home away splits. At home in Lambeau, 15th in yards per carry, 16th in yards per game. So they've actually done a decent job against the run at home, but this game's in San Francisco. And on the road, the Packers are 27th in yards per carry allowed and 28th in yards per game, rushing yards per game allowed. Now, again, just like the pass defense, though, you can point at the last chunk of the season here. In weeks 15 through 18, they actually have some good looking numbers against the run. Those 4 opponents combined for just 84.2 rushing yards per game, 3.61 yards per carry. So the Packers finished out the year defending the run pretty well. But who did they play? The Vikings, the Panthers, the Bucks, and the Bears. Now, the Bears' run game has been okay, but the 3 of those 4 are bottom 7 in the NFL in rushing DVOA. And last week's game against the Cowboys, yeah, they were blowing Dallas out. They were beating up on them, but it wasn't the run defense. Dallas finished the game with 25 carries, 123 yards. That's 4.92 yards per carry. And if you're thinking some of those carries came in garbage time at the end when it was a blowout, it's not the case. They actually had 14 carries and 70 yards in the first half when it was still a game. That's 5 yards per carry. So Dallas didn't do much well against Green Bay, but they were running the ball. And this isn't the Dallas Cowboys. This isn't a middle-of-the-pack, disappointing Tony Pollard season Dallas Cowboys rushing attack. This is Christian McCaffrey and the 49ers, man. They're 2nd in DVOA, 2nd in adjusted line yards, 4th in yards per carry. And they've been on an absolute warpath running the football to finish the season. Now, I'm taking week 18 out because McCaffrey's sad. They rested a bunch of starters, so I'm not counting week 18 here. Over their last 6 games before week 18, 156 rushing yards per game, 5.6 yards per carry, 1.7 rushing touchdowns per game is nuts. During that span, their EPA per rush was 0.182, which was double second place. So they were first by far. They were also first in success rate per rush. So the 49ers run game was really coming together to finish out the season. Situational stats on this side of the ball. Shocker, edge goes to the 49ers, as you would expect. They're first in the red zone, 4th and 3rd downs. Packers defense has actually been all right in the red zone. They're 12th, but 28th on 3rd down for Green Bay's defense. Got an underdog pick 'em for this one. It's a 3-pick, so it pays out 6 times. Jordan Love higher than 250.5 pass yards. Aaron Jones higher than 67.5 rush yards. And we're going with Brandon Ayuk lower than 67.5 receiving yards. I feel like the 49ers have kind of started to stray away from Ayuk. This Packers defense, I remember reading some numbers a few weeks ago, and I don't remember the specifics of it, but I remember something along the lines that the Packers were really weak over the middle. Their pass defense, the weakness was over the middle. So that would be tight ends, receivers like Deebo Samuel, backs running little slants out of the backfield. So I just feel like Brandon Ayuk could get lost in the fold here, and 67.5 is a big number, so I went with lower on Brandon Ayuk. Like I said, it's a 3-pick, so it pays out 6 times. If you don't have an Underdog Fantasy account, it's available in any state highlighted in this map. So if you're in one of these states highlighted in yellow, head over to the website or download the app Underdog Fantasy. When you make your account, make sure you use the promo code BET, B-E-T. That'll get you a $100 deposit bonus match. So if you deposit $100, they will give you a free $100 to play with. As far as when I'm betting in this game, you can basically copy and paste the same few sentences I said at the end of the Dallas Green Bay game and paste them here. You cannot lay this big of a number to arguably the best offense in the NFL right now. 49ers are going to move the ball, no doubt. The run game's going to be there. The pass game's going to be there. Not fading the 49ers offense, but I think Green Bay is going to move the ball right back. I think it's going to be a shootout. I have almost the exact same handicap for this game that I had last week. So give me Green Bay plus 9.5 and give me the over at 50.5. If you want my top bets for all sports, parlays of the day, or you want to join our Discord, head over to KyleKirms.com. The information's right there on the homepage. NFL Division Weekend. We started off great last weekend. Let's continue that. Remember to bet responsibly, and I'll talk to you in the Discord.